So I sold weed to a 5th grader, right?
Yeah, that just happened.
Yeah, it was pretty ridiculous. Don't ask how that. Anyways, good to see y'all again. It's another week, another random shit that's happening in our lives. We just decided to talk it out.
I'm locking the door, continue.
Yeah, it'd probably be best to lock the door.
Yeah, that'd be a great idea. Lock the door, right?
First thing that seems to have been coming up lately in life, I want to talk about it, is sexuality and relationships. Now, I know a lot of people will be like, oh, you know, you shouldn't base your relationships around sex, and that's bad to do, and then you just start lusting each other.
You know, hold on. So this is our second one. Let's still make a couple things clear. This is Jimmy. I'm Francisco, and this is actually our sober edition. We have a beer, but this time we're completely sober, so there really isn't much excuse for, like, anything. Not
any stupidity we say. There's no excuse. I can't go...
Yeah, not that we were going to make an excuse to begin with.
You're going to watch me drink the one beer I'm going to have tonight, and that's it.
So we originally were going to do a Let's Play, I guess you can call it, but it turned out to be much more complicated than I thought, and I mean, I don't know, I guess the PS4 music went kind of well with it, but we'll just have to see next time how it goes. Yeah,
I mean, we'll just set it up, try to figure it out better out. We're just getting our feet on the ground with this, so bear with us. It's a rough patch start.
So we're gonna do a little bit of experiment this time. First off, we have 3 things we'd like to talk about. Now that we're completely sober, let's see if we actually get to them. Because I always just think it's funny, you know, like if we have like a list of things to talk about, then we only get stuck on one, or we go like from talking to, like, say we're talking about like sexuality and relationships, and then somehow we end up going to like monkeys fisting each other. Like, it would be very interesting how we stayed on that one topic, but went from like sex and relationships to monkeys fisting each other. So that would it'd be really funny to see if we're even capable of doing that.
We'll see if we can do that. We're 2 minutes in. But
Yeah.
Monkeys fisting each other. I applaud you for that one. I don't know how we're going to get to that degree, but...
Well, we're kind of already talking about it right now.
Alright then, you already got us there.
You know, but in a way, that it all ties together. In a way, monkeys fisting each other ties with sexuality and relationships, ties with Ray Rice domestic violence.
We'll get onto that later.
Wait, oh yeah. And in a way, monkey fisting each other does have to tie with the whole fuck buddy issue that happened today.
That was funny.
Yeah. So
that is a great humor story.
You know, we successfully, in 2 minutes and 40 seconds, included monkeys fisting each other successfully.
I'll drink to that.
Yeah, I mean, I can drink to that too.
We'll get back on first topic we're going off.
Wow. Oh my god.
It just, to me, it seems, especially with our generation, you know, we're at our early and mid-20s right now. A lot of people our age seem to be iffy about sexuality. A lot of girls I know, a lot of guys I know. So I'm just gonna throw out 2 rules immediately.
Okay, so are you talking about just sex in general, like between couples, or like married couples?
Sex in general for couples, married couples, people that are talking, people that want to be together, just any kind of commitment, anything like that.
Cool.
2 rules. If they've committed to you, be a fucking whore for that person. It sounds bad, but I want you to think about this.
No, I completely agree.
Your boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever you're into, whatever you're with, they have chosen you over everybody else.
For the time being.
For the time being, they have chosen you in your life. I mean, you gotta give some head. You gotta do something crazy for them. They want to try something, they should be comfortable enough with you to bring that up to you.
Well, at one point, he's hungover, but he's not drunk.
I'm hungover, not drunk. But
you would just take a drink after I say that bit long.
Yeah. So, I feel if you're gonna be with somebody, be a whore for them. Sex shouldn't be the important thing in your relationship, but it should be kind of a big deal. It's a way for people to bond.
So do you believe that people can have a successful relationship with the focus being sex?
In a sense, no. If sex is the main focus, then that's all it is. I mean, you have fun. If you're focusing more on the sex, you're probably not focusing much more on anything else. I mean, you can start off at sex, and then develop relations and feelings for each other, and then you start to grow together.
So you believe that fuck buddies can eventually turn into a relationship?
Yes, I do believe fuck buddies can turn into a relationship.
Because that's what happened to me.
Exactly. Well, you have a physical attraction with somebody when you're a fuck buddy. Obviously, it's like, hey, I think you're attractive. You think I'm attractive. We don't want anything serious, so let's go have some fun. I mean, you initially attracted that person anyways, so you never know. You might start talking one day after y'all are all done. You're just laying there and you're talking and you start connecting emotionally. I mean, it's totally possible. I've seen it happen plenty of times. I've seen relationships break down where they just become fuck buddies, or I've seen relationships try to just go around sex, and for the most part, it never really works if it stays just at sex.
Now, alright, kind of a mindfuck for you. So, a relationship that mainly focuses on sex, but it's two emotionally healthy people.
If they're emotionally healthy, it shouldn't be a problem. If they focus on sex and they like it, they know what they want, but it always turns into one of them becomes, I think I kind of like this person.
Yeah.
Many people that just have relationships like that are normally, I'm not going to say they're messed up, just saying they can be emotionally devoid. They know how to separate the feeling from the act of sex. Because you can have sex without love. It's not as great as sex without the emotion.
Not even close.
There's no comparison, but to have sex with no emotion, just straight physical lust, that's entirely possible. And you can do that. A lot of people can't, but it's possible.
Bombshell moment. The problem with that is lusting over somebody is eventually lust is going to go away. And then there goes the majority of your value.
Exactly. So it's either that's where you end it, or the lust becomes more of an actual emotional connection, mental connection, humor connection, and then that's where it continues to grow after that.
Okay, so your previous point, I definitely see where you're coming from. Yeah, when you bring it up like that, because of lust, yeah, I definitely see that starting off a relationship with sex is not going to work out. Because if that's what's holding you together, then it's the lust that's holding you together. So eventually that is going to go away. Like, I mean, I'm sorry, dude, but like women out there, if you get butt implants, breast implants, yeah, for most guys, we're going to go through like a season where like, oh my god, I really want you, if that's what you're into, but eventually it's just going to be a part of you. So in a way, breast implants are kind of useless after a while, if you're trying to keep something in the long run. Now, if you're trying to attract attention, like short span attention, then of course, yeah, you know, you're going to get the results that you want, but keeping a partner, if that's what you really want, no, breast implants is not going to do that.
Yeah,
it's like your honey. It's like your honey, and you set a really nice trap. So your first trap that you set up, let's say the woman the hunter's in case, because we're talking about breast implants, and the male's a prey. So you have like A's or B's, whatever, okay, and assuming the guy that you hypothetically want to be with, he happens to like big tits, or whatever the situation is. So you start off, and then your trap is decent, it's okay, but it doesn't stand out. Like it's sticking out, you know. You know what the fuck I'm talking about. Like it's alright. It's not enough to get attention. So you catch a prey here and there, you get a guy's attention, he walks up to you, and it's like, oh hey, you know, this is getting some attention, this is nice. So you get breast implants, you know, you set up a better trap. That trap is either going to more likely to get more prey to come to this trap because, I don't know, the food smells really good, or it's really well hidden, whatever the fuck you want to use in this really cheesy analogy. And you catch them. So you catch them, they're trapped, but then it's like, okay, what do you do now? After a while, guess what? You're going to have to take the prey out of the trap. And once you get the trap out, you know, I mean, even though it kind of doesn't really apply because this is a prey at this point and we're using a hunting trap, you should know what the fuck I'm talking about. Once you already got the trap, once they're already hooked, what's going to happen then? What's going to happen after you take the prey out of the trap? You got to be able to cook it, you got to have a whole bunch of other skills. And some people it just comes naturally, but guess what? In most cases, if you really don't have these skills, then that's part of the reason why there's such a high 60% divorce ratio in America. And that's a lot of it, in my opinion, it's women's fault.
It's pretty sad. I mean, guys do some shit too. We're both responsible. At the end of the relationship, when you're in a relationship, you both have some responsibility in a relationship, regardless of who does what, you do. But, you know, moral of the story here is personality actually gets you somewhere every now and then. Actually can get you a lot of places. I mean, sure, I mean, you can be sexy or look good. I mean, any girl can go get butt implants. Anybody can go get, you know, get plastic surgery. Anybody can go work out and get in shape and look toned. It's like, what happens after that? What happens when you get somebody, you get comfortable, and then, bam, you start, you know, getting fat. Face it, everybody does that. when you're in a relationship, everybody gets comfortable, you start slacking off, start putting on a little weight, and then...
It's funny because in most cases, like especially for the women, I'm a huge believer in this, that in the duration of a relationship, because I really believe that males were more like physically attracted than women are in most cases. So like when a woman starts getting comfortable, she doesn't have a personality, she starts getting fat, she starts losing those qualities that we were originally attracted to begin with.
Very true.
So then you wonder why your stock drops, and you wonder why you start eyeing other girls when you go out more, or when you got your attention elsewhere. Well, that bitch, you're slacking off, man. I mean, you don't have a personality to begin with because you focus your entire time on focusing on your looks and focusing on being presentable. But yeah, when it actually comes down to it, and you don't know how to keep him, well, that's your own fucking fault. It really is.
It is very true. And you know, I hear a lot of girls watching this and be like, no, he could be a dick, he could be cheating. I mean, that's just him in general and all this. And you know what? Yeah, that could be true. The guy could be just a guy who likes to get girls and go on. But when you stop and think about it, you committed to him to yourself.
You're a fucking genius because this ties in perfectly with topic number 2. But no, like, let me introduce this topic. So, I get really bothered, especially in society, in the present day American society, it really feels like women have done a masterful job, and not a good, not a great, a masterful job at seeming like they don't do anything wrong. And somehow presenting this aura where it's socially acceptable, at least in my opinion, for women to not have to do anything, not have to do any work at all, especially in relationships. I mean, for whatever reason, somehow in American-based society, I personally feel like it's perfectly acceptable to break up a relationship or a marriage and then throw a party. And then be like, oh yeah, I mean, when I was with my ex, she told me how she went to a party like a couple months ago. It was a divorce party. I mean, yeah, I got a divorce, so I'm gonna go ahead and throw this celebration and woohoo and all this crap. I'm like, really? Are you kidding me? If I got a divorce, I'd be fucking heartbroken. I'd be like, instead of throwing a party, I would just be focusing as much of my attention as I can to, improve everything that didn't work. Now, I'm not here to judge anybody, or I'm not here to judge, anybody, For all I know, maybe they're trying to that's their way of coping. I really doubt it, but who am I to judge, so I'm not going to say anything about that. But I'm just saying for me personally, if I got a divorce, or especially I really love to care somebody, the last thing I would ever think about is throwing a party. Think about what the hell did I do wrong? How do I fix this? So if there's anything I did wrong, my future partner is not going to go through that. But I really feel like the majority of American women, they don't do that. I feel like the majority of American women, they do everything they can to blame a man, to make themselves feel okay, and then just try and push it away and pretend like it never happened. The problem with that is you don't fix anything. And I talked about this somewhat to an extent towards the end of the previous podcast, but I wholeheartedly do believe that. I wholeheartedly do believe that there's a majority of American women, and I could say majority, especially from my experience and from what I've heard from other men. And it's sad. It really is sad because here you have a whole bunch of women creating a fallacy, creating this environment where in their head they don't do anything wrong and everything is much better than it is. But then, like Jimmy kind of brought up last time, you put yourself here when your reality here, and then once you start thinking here and the guy knows you're here, it's just going to cause a whole bunch of fights.
It is a big issue. I know girls that, I'm not clowning on single mothers or anything like that, but I know girls that are our age, early 20s, barely maybe 25 at the most. They'll have like 3 or 4 kids by 2 or 3 separate guys, and somehow they still think that, you know what, I'm the best. I deserve a good guy who's going to take care of me and all my kids and have a good job and do all this. And then themselves don't do nothing. They stay home. They don't have a job. They just take care of their kids. They live off welfare. They have family helping them out. And sometimes you just got to be real with yourself.
Thank you.
And people are really, really hard at doing that. Alright, I'll admit it. I talk shit about myself the most. If you're going to find anybody that talks shit about me, it's going to be me. I'll say the worst things about myself because you just need to know when to take your head out your own ass, stop putting yourself on a pedestal. I get the idea of valuing yourself. You should value and prioritize yourself and your life, but be fucking real with yourself. Like, seriously.
Oh, but I'm sorry, being real, that requires for you to be honest. That requires to admit that not only did your partners make mistakes, but you made mistakes. That requires for you to realize that there's shit you gotta work on. Oh my god, American society in general, especially women, American women, to think about this? Oh my god, such a tragic thing. Let me cover my heart before somebody can get hurt. Fuck out of here, man. Do you know how much of a joke that is, especially in this present day society, where I have to jokingly say that, and I can't do this. I can't go to school, look at an average woman like anywhere, like in UTSA, North of this, in Texas A&M, whatever, talk to her, and not have to wonder, and that's the thing, wonder if she's gonna treat me like a bitch, or if she's gonna be a bitch, or if she's gonna somehow, some way disrespect me. And here I am, giving her everything she wanted, actually growing some fucking balls and talking to a chick, because let's face it, ladies, I can't tell you how many of y'all complain that there's a lack of men out here. You know, it seems like we have to make the moves, or blah 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 blah. And guess what? Y'all are right. Now that's a whole different topic to begin with, and I do believe that has to do with the demasculization of men in America specifically, and you can thank the feminist movements that happened about it. But that's a totally different topic, and maybe we'll get to it the next topic. But the point is, there is a serious lack of respect, especially when it comes to women and men, and at this time with relationships. And ultimately, a woman, if you want to keep a partner, especially if you want to have a long, healthy marriage, yeah, you obviously have to learn how to compromise, but at the same time, you have to be honest that you made mistakes. And how are you going to make those? How are you going to fix those mistakes? Or are you just going to party just blind, like whatever? You know, I'll just find a man that accepts me, and that's just that. And that's just one of the biggest fallacies out there.
It is a big problem in America, like you're saying. I mean, people they'd rather be accepted than to make themselves better, and that's terrible. Everybody just wants to be where they're at. It doesn't matter what I have to do. Nobody really wants to look at themselves in the mirror and be like, I need to change this. This is bad about me. I know a couple people that do that, and I'm glad they do that. But for the most part, people are always like, oh, I wish I could find somebody that accepts me. To me, in a sense, it's like saying, you know what? I know I got some problems with me, and not just the little details. Like, I got some legitimate issues as a person, and I hope I can find somebody that'd be willing to deal with those issues and still look at me like the sun blows out my ass.
And let me take a step further. I see nothing wrong with accepting somebody for who they are, but don't use that as an excuse to get lazy and not do anything about it.
Oh god, yes, don't do that. I mean,
yeah,
I've done it. I'm guilty of this before. And it sucks, and you don't really realize it until it's too late or way down the road from it. And you're like, well, fuck, I settled. That sucks. Things could have been better if I had been honest with myself and I had been working on it.
You know, I'm proud to say this. I can honestly say that I've never made excuses in my life. That I've always been the first one to, where I see something that's wrong, I fix it. And I don't make excuses for anybody or for anything. And yeah, Jimmy, especially when I first met you, you were pretty bad with that. But I'm happy to report, and I will take some credit for this, just a little bit, that you've been much more honest since I've known you the last couple years.
It's been a hell of a year. We've known each other for a good, what, year now?
Like a year and a half.
Year and a half now, and I mean, you've seen everything I've gone through this past year and a half, and it's, when I first got my apartment, and it's when me and you first met and all that, we started hanging out. And it was a hell of a year and a half. I went through a lot. I made a lot of mistakes. I did a lot of fuck-ups. I trusted a lot of people I should not have trusted. I was kind of people I shouldn't have been. And for the most part, I lied to myself. And I was in a heavy denial for a good while. And it wasn't until, recently, not like recently, a good couple months back, maybe 6-7 months back, I just started learning to be honest with yourself.
And I'll take a little bit of credit because I drilled this shit out of him.
Oh, this man drilled the fuck out of me, no homo. Don't take that the wrong way, anybody internet.
Yeah, I know. But you know what? That was totally a game moment, so go ahead and
whatever.
Just leave the fuck out of it, apparently.
Yeah, and it was it was a crazy time in my life, and it's like I said, I'm speaking from personal experience because, now I'm in a new relationship, serious, and I'm very happy. We're very honest with each other, and that's what I'm saying. You gotta be real with you gotta be real with the person you want to be with. You gotta learn to admit when you've done wrong. You gotta admit when you need to grow. And that's the thing about relationships. Relationships shouldn't ever be about two people accepting each other at all times. It should be two people growing with each other because they choose to do that.
I want to say this, and it's almost to the point where I completely believe this now. Assuming you're, this is just for me personally, but I'm seeing a lot of men when it comes to relationships. assuming you're averagely attractive and you've got an average personality, if I were to find a woman that could say half the crap this guy just said, I would be very, very, very interested in you. That would put you right at the top of my list because alright, sorry about that. We had a bit of a technical difficulty. Okay, so I'm just going to go back straight to the point where I was trying to say. For me personally, especially when it comes to like a relationship, yeah, it's pretty much the point for me where finding a woman that could be as honest as Jimmy was, for example, and be real, I mean, that is very attractive to me. I mean, yeah, don't get me wrong, your body will get to a point and, you know, that's what initially will attract me, but your personality and the person that you are is ultimately what's going to keep you. And a lot of women may not want to hear this, but you're going to have to really look at yourself and work on yourself, and that requires a lot of honesty. And it's just really sad that I don't see that. I don't. I see a lot of excuses, I see a lot of distractions, I see a lot of pain, especially in people, but I don't see a lot of honesty. I don't see a lot of posters like, oh, I need to go to the gym and I need to lose weight, no excuses. Or, yeah, you know, my ex may have done this, but I was at fault for this too. I don't see that that often, especially publicly. I can't tell you how many women I personally met where they would rather die and take it to the grave than to admit they were wrong. You realize how fucked up that is?
And it's actually a good story. It sounds really sexist. Something my manager told me a while back. A group of guys we could be sitting around having a beer, go out one night, and one of us ends up getting really drunk and goes home with a girl who's less than desirable. Now, you know, for that immediate time, guys be like, no, I didn't sleep with her, I didn't take her to bed, I didn't go home with her. But after some time, that group of guys can get around. I was like, come on, man, admit it. You did have sex with that girl that one time. You did go home with her. Yeah, okay, I did. Damn, we laughed about it, all done. It's just. Women, on the other hand, y'all will take things venomously to the grave. If you get offended by it, you're probably one of those girls that does it. I mean,
95% chance.
I know people personally that have lied in my face, even with evidence of, hey, look, I know the truth. Still lie and take it to the grave. They would rather die than ever admit they were wrong. They would rather do anything in their head to make it think like not only that they're right, but you're wrong for even calling them out on it, than admitting their own mistakes and doing something about it. And it's a shame. I mean, guys do it too. We do it, but not as much as girls. Y'all have it down to like an art form. It's actually really scary. It goes to the thing is like, you don't ever want to understand women, man, because women understand women. And most women hate each other. And a lot of girls hate each other. It's either they're like, or they're either genuinely that close, or they just want to kill each other the second they get the chance.
I refuse to get beaten by my own hair. I have this one hair that's sticking up. Oh my god, I just realized it like right now.
Oh my god.
Oh, this is Hercules the hair. This motherfucker
You'll be
doesn't want
fine.
to work out.
You'll be fine, man. You'll be fine.
But it's still up.
Well,
Cool.
going now. And we can flip this too. I mean, girls like to play the victim, but shit, guys like to play the victim too. Guys like to think they're all badass, stay where they're at, they'll get what they want. Understand this, guys. Take this to heart.
Better.
We're still fucking men. If there's a guy out there that really wants the girl you have, there is somebody out there that can take her. They can, if they want to, they will. You have to step up. You have to show that you're not only a man, you are her man. It also comes down to admitting faults and being humble, but you have to step up and to get an opportunity.
Yeah, let that sink in because it's absolutely right. And, you know, let's do a practice run now. Okay, so Jimmy and everybody that knows me personally knows that I like to say a lot of controversial things that's going to hit you one way or another. And this is going to be one of those instances. So this is definitely going to set the tone for the podcast. And you're going to, if you want to be an avid listener of our podcast and viewer, you have to have the ability to be able to at least think about what we're saying. And even if you don't agree with it, just understand that that's a difference of opinion. and that we're not always going to agree with each other, and that's okay. That's the biggest thing. It's okay to disagree with each other. In a way, I really do feel like this podcast is going to be like a form of therapy for just American civilization, society in general, where you don't have to agree with each other. We don't have to all agree with the same thing. It's okay to disagree with each other, and it's okay to go against the popular norm. So this is the second topic we're going to talk about. How much, or let me rephrase this question. Do we really think that Ray Rice's wife, fiance, now they're married, Ray Rice's fiance did nothing to instigate him?
Now, that can go two ways. She could have, as a lot of women like to do that. They like to abuse well, he's a man, he shouldn't hit a girl, so he won't hit me. And y'all use that weird mental pretext y'all have to push us. And it's like, what? You're not going to hit me? You're not going to hit me? And I've seen girls do it. You physically push a guy over. And I'm not going to make it a sexist thing. I'm going to say this for both the guy side and the girl side. If you're going to put hands on somebody, be prepared to get hands back. If you want to go at somebody, be prepared to get your ass kicked. It doesn't matter what you are. If you're a guy attacking a guy, a girl attacking a girl attacking a guy.
But see, that's the thing, Jimmy. The thing is in the video, at least from what I saw, and I've saw multiple times, she swung first.
She swung, yeah. Did he deserve to at least push her back or something, get her off? Yeah, he did.
Definitely.
Cold cocking her in one shot, knock her out, and dragging her out like a caveman, that's a whole different story.
Yeah, no.
Even the domestic abuse part, I mean, we could go into the fact that maybe this was a one-time thing, or maybe he wasn't abusive. It was an abusive relationship.
How the fuck do we really know?
We really don't know. And if it wasn't the case of abusive relationship, if you ever known somebody in an abusive relationship, it is really, really hard to get out of those, emotional or physical. I mean, I've had friends I've known people that get literally trapped in their own house because their significant other refuses to let them leave after an abusive episode. And who knows, maybe it was a one-time thing, maybe they did talk it out in private, maybe they did grow from all that. And if they did, it looks more likely that they did because they're still together. Obviously, they still got married and everything.
Yeah. Now, let's take it a step further, though. And nobody really discussed this, but I really think the majority of those people that are not necessarily in abusive relations, but abusive situations, two things. A, one of them probably did something to provoke the other person. Let's just be honest here. Male or female, forget about the sex part. Most of us, when we in society, we think of domestic violence, we think man comes home drunk, poor innocent, fragile little woman inside being perfectly fine, okay, taking care of themselves, and then she gets all this unwarranted abuse. Now, let's face it, we still have that chivalry aspect where women are these dainty little creatures and not to be mistreated or abused, which they shouldn't. I completely agree with that. But the truth is, in several cases, a lot of times, unfortunately, women are the victim because male are aggressive-based, beings. That's just how we are. But let's not act like, I'm sorry to say this, and it's gonna suck, but it's really true. Let's not act like you didn't do anything to provoke it, because you did. In most cases, that happened. You were either verbally abusive, you were either mentally abusive, and guess what? That's a form of domestic violence, and you can Google this and look it up if you don't believe me. But how can we sit back and say that, oh, here's this poor man, let's say hypothetical situation. Let's say Ray Rice was getting domestically abused. He was a victim of domestic violence, of verbal or passive, whatever you want to call it, attacks. So, who the fuck are we to judge that maybe he just finally snapped? And now he's the victim, and now, excuse me, not the victim, now it's all completely his fault. And she did nothing wrong, and she's an angel, and she's a strong woman, survivor of victim attacks, and it's bullshit, because she can never properly heal like that.
And it's very, very true. I mean, and there is some cases, it's maybe a girl didn't, maybe the guy's just got problems, or the person had problems to begin with. I mean, I admit that too, but there's also, like he's saying, there is many cases where somebody did do something, somebody did spark something, you pushed somebody too far, you did something too far, lack of communication. I mean, a lot of y'all probably do not know this, but it's an old topic too, but the whole Chris Brown-Rihanna situation, she actually started that. She swung first at him. Girl's a black belt. That girl can kick a lot of guys' asses.
I didn't know that.
She did start that fight.
It's just a quick time out. It's just funny how the media never brought that up. Like,
actually, a lot of people did not bring that up. I mean, it became a big deal, Chris Brown's an R&B singer, and they're both singers, and it's just a good way to play it up. I mean, what happened after Rihanna? Rihanna changed her career.
Let me use my quick one podcast time now. We didn't bring this up first, and we need to go ahead and make it clear now. It's never okay for a man to clothesline or to seriously harm a woman like that in a non-consensual way. It's unexcusable. But what we're doing here is, sorry for interrupting again, but what we're doing here is being honest that there are things to lead up to that. That's all I'm trying to say.
No. There is always something, and sometimes people won't see that, or it'll get highlighted wrong, and someone's got to be the scapegoat. There's got to be a clear-cut bad, there's got to be a clear-cut good in every situation, and that's not always the case. And that's the way life is, and unfortunately, it got brought to light in a terrible way. I mean, TMZ shed the light on it, and they also shed that the NFL knew about it. I mean, it was very quick and it was very sudden. A lot of people had to do a lot of sudden actions, and a lot of just sudden judgments had to get passed.
TMZ really, in my opinion, is a scum motherfucker. They really are.
They are, but at this point they've unearthed things. I mean, they came out with the whole David Stern issue. They're the one that broke that story. They broke this story. They also broke the Adrian Peterson story. I mean, it's not just the fact of abuse, because I mean, domestic violence happens.
Yeah.
It always happens. Racism happens. All that shit is still around. Don't kid yourself if you think it's not. It still happens. It's just a matter of how it's being shown, how it's being presented. I mean, do I believe Ray Rice should have gotten all his suspensions, got everything, fired, banned from the NFL, all that shit? Do I believe he deserved that? Yeah, he kind of did. But it's more the fact that the NFL knew it happened beforehand and only decided to do something after everybody else found it. I mean, if nobody had ever heard about it, it would have got swept under the rug. Nobody would have ever known about this. You wouldn't even know who the hell Ray Rice is. Actually, unless you're like a big football fan, you probably didn't even know who the hell Ray Rice was until this story broke.
Ray Rice was an average, he's pretty average in my opinion as a wide receiver for Baltimore Ravens.
Yeah, exactly. He didn't really pull. He wasn't a superstar. He didn't
his stats, especially going towards before this incident happened, his stats were okay. I mean, kind of bad to be honest, if you really think about it. So it's not like we're talking about a superstar or anything to begin with. But now, let me ask a couple questions that that weren't brought up last time. I mean, can you really blame the NFL for not wanting to cause a shitstorm?
Exactly. I mean, they're in the business of making money. That's what they are. And of course, they don't want a shitstorm. But of course, like I said, Ray Rice wasn't this big old superstar and all that. I mean, somebody would eventually find out if they had dealt with it. Like, hey, you know what? You did this. It's very serious. We're gonna go ahead and cut you. Somebody would have eventually found out. But instead, it was just like, let's sweep it under the rug and not even deal with it. Let's give you what we'll just let it go with what we know now and be done with it.
And that's the point that I'm trying to make. I mean, can you really fucking blame them for not trying to bring up a shitstorm? I mean, this already put the NFL in a really bad situation where they have to make a decision. And the wrong decision deemed by anybody is already going to cause even more problems. And that's exactly what already happened. Now look, there's a lot of people wanting to fire Roger Goodell. And they're trying to find every legitimate excuse. And it has nothing to do with the fucking guy. It's just it's pathetic. It really is. And the sad thing is I'm sorry, people may not agree with me, but for Christ's sake, America, I don't really see America anymore. It's the land of second opportunities. I mean, for fuck's sake, we're wanting to crucify this man because he made one mistake. Now, we don't know his situation, and for Christ's sake, at least if I read the report correctly, he wasn't tried. He wasn't charged. He wasn't charged for anything. Not only that, his wife didn't want to place charge. Oh, and they got married. Yet, we have the right here, supposedly, to judge these people and judge this man for one action. Now, again, it was horrible, and I would never do something like that. I'll already go on record. And just seeing what already happened is completely unexcusable, especially to clothesline somebody like that, especially close-fisted like that. It's completely unfucking excusable. But at the same time, who am I to say that he doesn't deserve a second chance?
And I mean, only time will tell on his situation, what happens with him.
Yeah.
But I just felt that it was something that was really bad, but it got handled
really bad.
Not really handled, mishandled. Yeah. Almost dropped from the beginning initially when nobody was watching. not everybody's watching it, and it's just spiraling way out of control, and it sucks.
I completely agree. That's the thing, and this is where a situation where, like, I wish I knew Ray Rice, so I could sit down and give my opinion, like, okay, he really is a good person, or maybe he's got an anger issue. But that's the thing, I don't know, I'm just a fucking casual viewer, and most of y'all don't know. So I just really think it's unfair that we're judging this person without letting him have a clear side. The only thing we see is like, oh my god, here's a chance for a lot of us to be chivalrous and show how much we support women and blah 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 blah. Now, the funny thing is, I read an interesting article about this. Have you noticed, especially like when domestic violence comes up, you know, it's laughable for a lot of people. Think about a woman hitting a man. Seriously, it's laughable. Even though you could do scratch marks, even though you could go ahead and leave serious physical damage, it's laughable. I mean, go on YouTube and look up, you know, women hitting men, and there's literally a video out there of this woman like literally harassing this man, and there's just people laughing. Now, when you flip side of it and it's a man, oh my god, everybody suddenly wants to be all protective. Everybody wants to go and come to this poor innocent woman's, you know, aid, and it's really a really sad double standard.
It's something more that we need to stop. And I mean, I've seen a lot of new age, you know, gender equality coming around where they want to eliminate gender roles, and I do support that fully, you know, and as an effect of, you know, a guy can do what a girl do and vice versa, but a guy can accept the same consequences a woman does and vice versa. It's like, we all want to fight for equality, but the second something comes down that doesn't work in our favor, we want to push it away and be different again. We want to work whatever's going on in the world in our favor. And you can't have that. It's going to be one way or the other. It's either you want to be on equal grounds with somebody, or you want to have differences and give and take.
No, I completely agree. I wholeheartedly completely agree. That's a very serious problem, and we'll end up talking about it more later on, especially in future podcasts to come, but I mean, anybody that's watching this or anybody that you see this, especially if you're a woman, you really need to stop and think about that. I mean, yeah, I'm not going to lie to you, that you have an advantage when it comes to this area, so to say, but that doesn't mean it's right, and I mean, especially if you're like a lot of women, I mean, unfortunately, where they're going to find any and almost all excuse they can find to not put the blame on them. I mean, who are you really going to hurt yourself? You can't heal like that, let's just be honest. When you put the blame on everybody else and not yourself, yeah, I mean, guess what? You're just letting the situation happen day in, day out. And nobody can feel like that, especially when you put the blame on other people. And that's the saddest part of all, you know? Like, let's talk about this just for a little bit.
Yeah.
So, let's use Ray Rice's wife situation, for example. Let's say, hypothetically speaking, that she didn't get married and she divorced him and she pressed charges. And whenever she thought about it, or anything that triggered her domestic violence or any side of it, you know, she will always be remembered of that. But she'll get angry and she'll get furious when she thinks about it. And she'll try and immediately just put all the blame on Ray Rice and what he did and how badly he treated her, and basically open the floodgates of all this negativity to happen. But you can't heal like that. And at the end of the day, guess what? You are a permanent victim at that point. And it's much harder to get out of that mindset. And it really is sad. That's the saddest part of all that's not seen. What we get to see is what happened, what was visible, like the actual instant of violence took place. But the saddest part of all, and I've done a lot of research on this, is afterwards. Especially if you don't know how to heal properly, or if you don't do what it takes to heal properly. And this is why it's funny, because it ties into exactly, if you had the ability or the mindset to be honest with yourself, admit your faults, admit what could have been done differently, what you could have been done differently, and even if you couldn't do anything differently, just to admit that what happened, and you got to be honest enough to admit that you're in pain and get the proper help that you need to move on, then that's the only way you can really get out of it. But if you don't, it's always going to be in the back of your mind, and it will fuck up your next relationships. And that's just the bottom line. Is whoever your next partner is, especially if you've been a victim of domestic violence, verbally, non-verbally, physically, not physically, it doesn't matter. If you can't fix yourself, it's going to affect your partner. And I've been guilty of that. Jimmy's been guilty of that. His girlfriend, I mean, I'm not really going to go into detail, but she's got crap happen to her. And guess what? Jimmy pays for it. My ex, same shit, man. It happened to me too. And it sucks because nobody talks about this, and you guys kind of know me by now, so I'm going to say it. We have people that we love, But because we failed or we didn't recognize at the time what our mistakes were, we don't fix it. And because we didn't fix it, we end up hurting the people that we love. And yet we wonder why we have a 60% divorce ratio here in America. It's our fault. It's our fault because we're not honest with each other. And all of this could have been prevented if we were just honest.
Took the words out of my mouth, man, on that one.
Yeah.
I ain't even gonna lie. That's actually a good way to end that. Let y'all think about that until we see you next time.
Well, I mean, all right. I didn't want to end it in such a bad note. I kind of want.
No, it's not. It's not a good way. It's not a bad note. It's a thought provoking note.
Well, what I was saying was I was considering, like, you know, talking about the whole situation happening, kind of leave like in a lighter note. But unless you think it'd be a better idea, just send it down.
I think it would be better. Kind of let it soak in on it, because that is kind of a serious topic. And leave it on the lighter note. We just kind of be like the news, like, you know, when the news tells something so fucking wrong, like, oh, this guy went into a neighborhood, killed 2 babies, ran over a dog, and, you know, and got away. And then they just kind of bleed over into the next one. It like completely diminishes it. So, and I hate to cut it to you like this, but I feel this is actually kind of a nice
We'll do our
spot.
closing statements. Go ahead. Go ahead and make a closing statement.
I do feel that, you know, the biggest obstacle anybody faces is themselves. You need to look at yourself in the mirror sometimes, and you need to be honest. Because the only thing that's stopping you from the greatest happiness you'll ever find in life is yourself.
Yeah, and I mean, one more kind of statement this, you know, one day, hopefully, if you're lucky enough, you're going to find somebody you really love in life. And let's just be honest, they're going to have their problems, you're going to have your problems. Now, man, this really sucks, but it's true. I mean, you're going to be in a spot where, especially if you really like this person, her problems are going to come out, your problems are going to come out. It's what you do with it at that point. Is what you've done up until that point of your life. Especially, there's no excuse for this if you've already gone through it once. There is no excuse for repeating the same mistake over and over again. If you really love, one day, I'm pretty sure you're going to find somebody you really love. And if you made the same mistake once, whatever that may be, and you're watching it happen again towards your partner, I mean, you're going to watch the very person you love, you're going to watch the very person you care about slowly fade away. Or even, especially if it's worse, they're going to literally just take off right under that moment. And you're going to be in this vicious cycle where at the end of the day, you're hurting yourself and you're hurting your partner. And the only person that can snap out of it is you. And that's the truth, man. The truth is that you got to be able to look at yourself and admit your faults. And that's the only way you or anybody can heal. And that's basically what the focus of this podcast has been about, is you have to be honest with yourself. And if you can't be honest with yourself, then guess what? That may be okay for you, but it's not going to be okay for your partner. It's not going to be okay for your goals. It's not going to be okay for your friends. Your action, especially your lack of action, has a consequence. That consequence can be good or bad. And it's whatever you make out of it. And it's sad that we live in such a society where it's completely acceptable and it's completely okay to lie and just belittle things. And I really wish that wasn't the case, especially for such a great nation, but
it is, but we can change that still. Shit can still happen. Stop being content with the lies.
Yeah.
Be honest.
We've got about a minute, 30 seconds for 45. Let's just close it down, okay?
We can close it down right now. Also, we'll be trying to perhaps link up our emails if y'all want to shoot us something, hate mail, death threats, some stuff you want to talk about. I know a lot of y'all probably have some things y'all want discussed or some things I want to ask that you might be a little too, I guess, I don't know, shy to ask in person or just get another opinion on some subject. I mean, we're honest. We might fight or we might completely agree on it, but we're going to be honest with the opinion.
Yep, and you know, that's actually, you brought that up earlier today. I think that's a fantastic idea. We'll include our email in the description, and any questions that you want to ask. It can be completely anonymous, and if you're worried about not being anonymous, just make up a fake email. And just, you can ask us any question.
You're not even give us any information. Let us know what you want to know. If you want to give us a name and want that, then we'll put that out and anything. If you don't, oh well.
You know, I'll say this, because we've only got like 30 seconds left. if there is at least one person, just one person that views this, and we actually touch their lives in some way, shape, or form, and we cause at least a little bit of change, then what more could we ask for? It's like, that's not what this podcast was about, but I mean, seriously, if there's one person where we can at least get you to be honest from watching this, then fuck, don't I feel like a fucking angel?
Alright, we did all that, guys, and always remember, the longest journey always starts one step.
Yep, one step at a time.
Y'all be good.
Have a good one.